Hello everybody and welcome back to Fairy Tale Family. This week we're gonna rank our hotel stays at Walt Disney World, and these are hotels that we've stayed at together. If you're a returning subscriber, thanks so much for coming back. If you're new to the channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe and like button down below. And I just want to say that, this is our preference, so what we say isn't what everybody else thinks or what everybody should think. It's just we're informing you of our hotel stays and what we prefer to stay at that works for us. So coming in at the least favorite resort that we have stayed at together is the Treehouse Villas at Saratoga. One of the main things that we did not like about staying in the Treehouse Villas was the convenience factor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good, I don't know. I didn't see the appeal aside from maybe it's like more secluded from everybody else. But the fact that it's more secluded just makes it like way further away from everything else. And one of the appeals of staying on a Disney property is being able to just kind of go where you want to go among or within the Disney properties. You would have to take a bus to another set of bus stations, and then from that bus station you could then go to the parks. Yeah, so it just adds a whole nother step.
It's almost like if you're going to stay at the Treehouse Villas, as nice as they are, because they are private, so they're very, very private. They're great for big parties. But if you're going to stay there, you might as well rent a car. So that is why the Treehouse Villas are at number 7. We're coming in at number 6 on our list is Pop Century. Now, Pop Century, one of the biggest draws to Pop Century is it is a value resort. It ranges from $100 to sometimes a little bit over $300 a night, depending on season. So it is a less expensive hotel. One of the things that we didn't really like about it, now it could have changed since the Skyliner went on it, because we have not stayed there since the Skyliner went up, is the transportation piece of it. You have to take a bus everywhere. Now you can take the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios or to Epcot, but that was not there when we stayed there. So that's a drawback, and I didn't think the food and the cafeteria style type food was the greatest.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, but it's not, and we'll get into it later as far as the location of things, but it doesn't have the perks of staying in a deluxe hotel. Let's just put it that way.
There's a benefit to it being a value resort, or maybe it's the way they set it up, but it's more like buffet style where you just kind of go and they have like a whole bunch of different set of lines, because there are certain places that only
almost
have...
college style.
Yeah,
college style eating.
But it's different than a couple of these other ones that we have ranked a bit higher, where you go in, the food's a bit nicer, but you have to wait in line.
Right.
Like, there's one line.
Yeah. The other thing about Pop, which a lot of people don't like, and we haven't run into this, I think, because we've been very selective of when we go to Disney, and we try to avoid crowds in general, but when there are sports events or when there's a big travel group from like an exchange program pre-2020, Disney would more than likely set them up at Pop Century. And if there were cheerleading competitions or gymnastics competitions, they would most likely be set up in a value resort, and Pop Century is one of those resorts. So sometimes it can get a little loud and rowdy in the same sentence. A little loud, a little rowdy. But we never ran into that, I feel like, at Pop Century. So number 5 brings us back to where the Treehouse Villas are located, and that's Saratoga Springs. Now, Saratoga Springs is one of the newest DVC deluxe resorts, and it is huge. It is so big.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks it has, because it's great for walking or running. You have those nice trails. You can walk over to Disney Springs. Transportation is a pain at Saratoga.
Yeah, it's like an extra 10 minutes just trying to go to all the different stops within...
Because it stops at each section of the hotel before it leaves for the park or before it drops everybody off. So
I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable thing for them to do.
Right, but like just if you're planning on staying there, if you're planning on staying at Saratoga, that's something that you definitely have to take into consideration, is you have to add travel time.
I don't know, for whatever reason, it just feels longer because, I mean, it's not like... there are other buses that say, like, for the Boardwalk, it goes to the Beach Club, it goes to the Swan and Dolphin. But basically, each bus has a couple sets, but...
it just feels very long.
It feels very long because you're like, oh, if you just took a left right here, we could
be at the hotel.
And sometimes we'd actually just get off.
Yeah, and walk.
Because you you want to just feel like you're moving.
And I think, some of the pros of Saratoga, I mean, you have the quick service location, which I thought it was done better than most quick service locations at the hotel, because you go up, you give them your order, you get a little, thing that goes on your table, and they bring your food to you, so you don't have to stand up there and wait for the food.
Yeah, you basically get like a ticket that gets shown off.
Yeah, and they come and they drop it off. I thought that was really nice how they did that. They have the Artist Point, which is not really a restaurant. It's like a drinks and appetizer more feel. I went there once with my...
Did I go to that?
No.
Okay.
No, but I've been there, so that's there. The other nice thing about Saratoga is because it's so big, there's a lot of pools. So the crowds disperse to their own individual pools in their locations, and then there's a grand central pool where a lot of activities take place. So it's nice to have that spread out feel of the pools, because not everybody's congregating at the same pool. And all the different laundry locations, and it does have nice perks to it. We'll link our Saratoga videos down below, because we did do a room tour, a resort tour, and when we stayed there. And the walk to Disney Springs is really a nice walk. It's not too long, it's not too short. It's just
it's decently scenic too.
Yeah, it's a really nice walk. It's just not, because of the size of Saratoga and the transportation to the 4 main parks that we generally go to. It's just, again, I would prefer to rent a car and just drive. So coming in at number 4 is Art of Animation. Now, the reason why Art of Animation...
Yeah, to fill it in, this is the sister hotel
to Pop Century.
Pop Century, which you can walk over. They're separated by what?
Like a bridge.
A couple set of bridges, right? Yeah.
And it's also hooked up to the Skyliner now. When we've stayed there in the individual, the regular studio rooms. And we actually stayed there in a suite with a bunch of our friends when we went. And I like that there's those 2 options at a value resort, because for bigger families, the price point is a little bit higher. Sometimes it runs from $400 to $550 a night. But if there's 6 of you and you don't want to spend the $900 at Contemporary or the $700 at the Boardwalk.
This is assuming 6 adults.
Yeah, this is assuming 6 adults. It works out. It worked out for us price point wise, because we were able to split it amongst the 6 adults in the room.
Yep.
And it was for us at that trip. It was the best choice. Also, if you have young kids, the theming of it is great. Yep. You have the Little Mermaid section, the Lion King section, the Finding Nemo section, and the car section, and each section is uniquely themed. The rooms are themed, the hallways are themed.
Yep.
There's
not characters, but like plastic statues
and that go to those areas. And because there are different sections, there are a couple different pools, so the crowds do tend to disperse out to their own pools. And so that's another great benefit to the Art of Animation. The reason why it's not in our top 3 is because of transportation.
The transportation, and if you're gonna, if you didn't like the Pop Century style of food, you're not
gonna like Art of Animation.
But
it is college style dining, and you do, up until last year, you did have to take a bus to all 4 parks.
Aside from now you're talking about the Skyliner.
Yeah, now you have the Skyliner, which will take you to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. It does share a station with Pop Century, so just keep that in mind, that if you're getting up and doing the parks first thing in the morning, you may want to get to the Skyliner a little early.
Yeah.
Because you are going to be sharing lines with people at Pop Century, and this line goes directly to Caribbean Beach and Caribbean Beach Resort, and from there you pick up your second Skyliner to either Epcot or Hollywood Studios. So just keep that in mind when you are traveling from Pop Century or Art of Animation.
Yeah.
So our top 3 hotels are in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the 3 hotels in the same area.
They're kind of interchangeable in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
So coming in at number 3 is the Swan and Dolphin Hotel, sponsored by Marriott on Disney property. So this is located at the Boardwalk area. You can walk right on the Boardwalk. You can walk to Hollywood Studios. You can walk to Epcot. There's great dining in those hotels.
Dining. You have Shula's. What's that?
Kimonos, which is the sushi place.
Yeah, there's a sushi place.
There's the fountain that has the burgers and the...
Yeah, it's kind of like the
prime time a little bit, or Beaches and Cream.
Beaches and Cream, which is in the other ones that we're going to talk about.
There's Mexican restaurants, there's Italian restaurants. It's just a great.
And if you're looking for, go ahead, sorry.
And if you're looking for price point that's not deluxe, it is a good price point for a resort that's in that area. I think we've spent maybe $200 to almost $300 a night some seasons, but it is, again, it's right in the boardwalk and you can walk to 2 parks.
Yeah, because if you're going to look at the amenities of transportation, it's just, because what did you say, you can walk, you can take a ferry, and you can, I mean, obviously in some cases you have to take a bus, but you know, you can, there's multiple options there. And one of the things that we really love about the Swan and Dolphin is the big pool on the Dolphin side, which is there's 2 pools on the Dolphin side. One is a relaxation pool, so there's nothing crazy, but then you have the big pool with like the water slide and the waterfall and the cabanas, which we went to for Mother's Day, and I'll link that video below in the comments. But it's good. It really is a great resort. The drawback to it is there's no Magical Express, which isn't necessarily a drawback. You can take an Uber. I mean, you can. There's multiple ways to get to the place. You don't want to have Disney in your face all day, every day. The Swan and Dolphin gives you a break from that.
Yeah. It is a Marriott Hotel that is located on Disney property, in a very good spot, and they do have a 3rd one coming out in that same area. So in that same area, if we go to number 2, is the Boardwalk Resort. The Boardwalk is currently getting some updates in 2021 in Walt Disney World. The clown pool has ceased to exist, and they have replaced it with what looks like some Mickey cartoons instead of a clown. They're doing some renovations and updating it. So some of the things that we love about the Boardwalk, for me, it's a nostalgic hotel. It is the hotel that I always stayed at with my aunt and uncle and my cousins every time we went, just about. And it is a great location. It really, I mean, it's anything in that area is a great location.
The hotels are listing about it. Or just, I mean, they all get to share some of the benefits here.
Yeah, you get to walk from the back entrance of Epcot or to Hollywood Studios. On the boardwalk itself, which you can get to from any of these top 3 hotels we're listing, but they have the boardwalk carnivals that they run at night. There's multiple restaurants, bars, a dance hall where we had our wedding reception.
Little shops and stuff.
Little shops. They have a dueling piano bar, which is really cool, and you can walk.
There's a margarita.
There's a margarita stand, Joe's Margaritas. The Apple Hill Creamery, from my understanding, was affected by COVID-19, and they had to shut it down. And there's no plans of bringing that back. So they've got to
put something back. I mean, that was like the best.
It was great ice cream.
I don't eat. I mean, I'm typically for ice cream, typically like vanilla or some variation of that. Like I don't like, you know me, I don't like chocolate, or like any,
flavor,
things like that.
Anything delicious.
No. But they had like all these like, cinnamon caramel, like all these other
oatmeal.
Like a cheesecake or something that was like a bunch of like really good stuff that wasn't like chocolate heavy, which was nice for me. But big surprise, Beach Club is our number 1. If you don't know like the general location, you probably could have
narrowed it down.
I'm sorry, if you did know the location and the hotels that we were talking about, you could probably figure out which one we were going to say is number 1. But for me, I think that's number 1. Aside from, I guess, the updating, sure. There's good, restaurants right there, too.
In the hotel.
In the hotel. And then you're still really close to the boardwalk. In addition to that, you're closer to Epcot.
You're closer to Epcot. You're right next to the...
And I prefer Epcot over the Hollywood Studios, though you're still within walking distance of it, or ferry distance.
And the other thing is, with the Beach Club, you are attached to the Yacht Club, and in the Yacht Club is the Yachtsman Steakhouse, which we've eaten at a couple times, which has been really great. And the Beach Club itself has great food. The pool is amazing that the Yacht Club and the Beach Club share. The big pirate ship water slide. The Beach Club is actually where we stayed for our wedding. It is where our entire wedding party stayed. it's where a majority of our guests stayed. So it's got some good memories in that hotel. Yeah. It's where Henry stayed.
They also both the Boardwalk and the Beach Club have decent gyms too. Yeah. And I mean, for anybody that likes to running around the Boardwalk is just, it's so nice, especially like early in the morning. There's like nobody out.
Even
you get
just
like that little like Florida fog coming in.
Even just walking around the Boardwalk in the morning to get a coffee is amazing.
Oh yeah, that's one of your rituals.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Is I get up in the morning either at Beach Club or Boardwalk, and I walk around, and I stop at the Boardwalk Bakery, and I get a coffee and some breakfast, and I generally bring it back for people. But that's, I love that area so much. Yeah. We've listed what our top resort stays are. We want to hear what your top resort stays are, so comment down below what you guys prefer to. We're going to go ahead and list off some of the hotels that we really want to stay at, hopefully in 2021. If not, then 2022. One of the ones that we're hoping to stay at in September is the Polynesian Resort. Now, I've stayed at the Polynesian myself with my family way, way, way back. But it has had some updates. There's some new bars. There's the character breakfast. Hopefully that's back. And it's a cool pool. It's a nice location because you can take the monorail to the Ticket Transportation Center or walk to the Ticket and Transportation Center and get on the monorail to Epcot. So you can take the monorail to Magic Kingdom, which with Henry would be nice to be near Magic Kingdom and Epcot because those are the two parks we'll probably be doing the most.
Sure.
So that's one of the ones on our list that we do want to stay at. We're hoping to stay at September, if not then in 2022. The second one on the list is actually one of the ones that Greg really wants to stay at is Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, I just want to see the animals. Because you said that there's like some balcony or something.
The Savannah
and
view.
And the giraffes will come and eat your towels if you leave them out or something.
Yeah, well, there's the.
I don't know, that's what I figured.
There's the rooms with the Savannah views. So Greg really wants to stay there. We have talked, that's actually originally where we were booked for one of our trips in the past, and we switched it. But the trouble with Animal Kingdom with Henry is the transportation because you have to take a bus everywhere. Yeah. So we are hoping to hold that off till he's a little bit older. And it's easier to take a bus with him where we don't have a stroller, or we rent a car and we drive around that way.
Or we just go the two of us.
Yeah, or if we ever go, just the two of us will stay there. Because we don't mind taking the buses if it's just the two of us. It's just a pain with a stroller and a baby. Number 3 of the ones that we want to stay at is the Contemporary for Bay Lake, which is one of the main reasons, same as Polynesian. We can walk to Magic Kingdom, take the monorail to the Ticket and Transportation Center, monorail to Epcot, and also right there is Chef Mickey's, which would be fun with Henry.
They've got some good restaurants and stuff in there. The other thing too is
California Grills.
Yeah, right.
Where we got engaged.
And you got the beautiful views. The other thing too is I feel like that's just like, I don't know. For some reason I have it in my head that that's like the most like original Disney hotel.
That's because it's one of the original Disney hotels.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah. It's a staple Disney hotel.
Yeah, so I feel like, and the fact that you brought me, I don't know how many different times, I haven't stayed in it, it's a little disappointing. But, yeah, I suppose just for that factor alone, I might just get in there and be like, oh, alright, this is cool. And then be like done with that factor.
Yeah. What's nice about it, again, is that we could walk to Magic Kingdom, which with Henry being young is a big perk that we would like.
I still feel like I'll miss the boardwalk feel. Because it's just...
But we do need to branch out. We do need to try other things.
I don't know.
It's hard for us because we love the boardwalk area.
Yeah.
But, I have stayed at a lot of these resorts, but it would be great to stay together and get a different perspective with Henry.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, too, is that the Henry additive of everything kind of, I still feel like the boardwalk and all those are going to be like, top notch because everything's just there and there's enough for him to like be interested in. And, but yeah, it would be interesting to see what he gravitates towards and
as he gets older.
Right. What he enjoys about it.
So that takes us to the final hotel that we want to stay at. It's where we bought points last year, and it's the Riviera Resort. So one of the reasons why we're actually currently booked at Riviera for our September trip, and the reason why we want to switch out of that is because the points are so expensive to stay there. It is a lot of points, but it is a beautiful hotel. It's right on the Skyliner. You could take the Skyliner to the boardwalk and walk around the boardwalk.
It is, freaking beautiful.
It is beautiful. It has great like, restaurants.
It honestly doesn't feel like a Disney hotel. Like it's just like it's a whole nother level of like Disney.
It's absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, the Riviera, we want to stay there. We actually talked about, if we could go just the three of us for an extended stay, that would be a great place to stay, at least for a portion of the trip.
Yeah.
The other appeal to the Riviera is that you can walk to Caribbean Beach, which has its own restaurants and own walking trails, and so you can explore that resort as well, because it's on the same walking path. So, that's one of the ones we do really want to stay at, and we hope we get to. If we can't transfer out of it into any resorts, we will be staying there in September. So that's pretty much wrapping up this week's video, and I want to thank you all for stay tuned and keep liking and subscribing and keep coming back. We're trying to mix up the videos a little bit and talk about things we haven't necessarily talked about in the past and add some new content, and so that's all I got. That's all, folks. All right, well, have a magical day, everybody.